edition of CX Live Interviews. Today, we will discuss a pertinent issue, which is CX strategy alignment at the board level and the importance of culture. 82% of organizations believe good CX is the number one differentiator of strong corporate performance. Thus, board-level accountability for CX is increasing. There is a continued focus of the board on CX outcomes, and given its importance in driving organizational growth and delivering bottom-line results, it is certainly the number one matrix for organizational performance. So the question weighing the minds of a lot of CX leaders is, what are the key factors to keep in mind when designing and implementing your CX strategy? Joining us today to share his insights is Hussein Dajani, the General Manager, Digital and Customer Experience at Nissan Motor Company. Hussein has over 17 years of solid marketing communication experience within multinational agencies like JWT, Leo Burnett, and TBWA, as well as client-side focus with Fortune 500 companies like Virgin Money and Red Bull. He received the renowned WPP Young High Potential Leaders Award from Sir Martin Sorrell and was featured in the 50 most influential digital marketing leaders listing for 2017. Furthermore, Hussein has been voted by Huffington Post as amongst the 10 people changing the Marcom landscape in the MENA region. We're delighted to welcome you to our studios, Hussein.
Thank you very much, Ayusha. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Likewise. Now, Hussein, clearly, post-pandemic CX has transitioned to be a boardroom issue in organizations. When we speak to the C-suite, we can see that there are a lot of investments being made in CX by most organizations. How have you seen the CX mature in the region in the last year, especially in the UAE?
That's a very interesting question, Ayusha. The thing is, people think that in order to accelerate your customer experience agenda in the organization, you have to spend a lot of money. Whereas the reality is not that. The reality is it's not about how much money you have and how much money you're ready to spend, as much as it is, are you ready to change the mindset inside your organization for the way you're doing business? When you decide to embark on customer experience, on a customer experience journey, this means you're really starting to decide, I want to put the customer at the heart of everything that I'm doing. Any decision that I'm taking, I need to make sure that it's relevant to a customer, number one. Number two, that it adds value to the customer. And number three, that all of us, and not department-wise, but the whole organization is believing in that mission and that journey that you're embarking in. So if you come and tell me, since the pandemic kicked off, and I hope you and your families and our listeners' families are all safe and good, what happened is customer experience moved from being a buzz to becoming more of a way of going for organizations. Every single organization wanted or embarked or started engaging in customer experience initiatives. The real challenge behind it is, unfortunately, is many organizations went out loud in press and in media talking about digital transformation and customer experience transformation, but the reality on the ground, nothing has changed. So it was more of a PR gimmick for them, more than an actual attitudinal change in the way they want to run their businesses. So I've encountered with so many companies or organizations that it actually, with COVID-19, my experience with those organizations actually diminished and became much more negative than it was before COVID-19. See, COVID-19 happened, many organizations went into a panic mode. When you go to a panic mode, this is the best formula for destruction. Because when you panic, you don't start strategizing properly, and you don't start thinking, what is your customer expecting from you? So you really need to look at your business. What are the touch points in which a customer interacts with you? And how can you be more empathetic with that customer? And how can you ensure that the journey that you're providing to that customer is seamless, frictionless, and an enjoyable one. So I've seen, again, I would repeat, many organizations have done a lot of efforts. I congratulate them for that. Some it was beneficial for them, but many others it was not beneficial for them. So I cannot say that everybody did it the right way. I cannot say that everybody delivered on what they are promising to deliver, but I can say that COVID-19, it shook organizations and made them realize that if you are not gonna take down that route, your survival in the future is very questioned.
That's so true, Hussein. And I guess the point that you touched upon about attitudinal change is so important, because what the pandemic also did was amplify the voice of the customer, and companies that were able to successfully capture the voice of the customer and then integrate into their customer-centric strategy, I guess those would have been the winners. But I hear you when you say that, your DX and the CX alignment, if it's just been a PR exercise and that voice of customer was not being captured and therefore being put into your customer journey mapping, it would not have made the impact.
Absolutely.
So the question I have is, did you have to change anything around the pandemic for your own customers? Did you go back and evaluate your VOC or your customer journey mapping strategy?
Ayusha, what we are today is completely different. It's a 360-degree shift from what we were before the pandemic versus what we are today. At the end of the day, we are an automotive company. So our business relies on selling cars and servicing cars. So when the pandemic started, we noticed two things. People don't want to go to our showrooms because they're scared of going out of their homes. And people don't want to take their cars to service maintenance because, again, they're scared and worried about that. So for us, those were the two main, if you want, barriers for us to be able to do business. So what is required is, and this, I'm telling you, this came from the C-suite in the organization, is we know the challenges. We know that COVID is not there to stay for a week or a month. It's staying for a long term. So what do we need to do to turn things around in order to secure our survival, in order to secure that we are able to remain loyal to our customers, and in order to be able to keep selling vehicles? And so it was pretty easy. If the customer is not coming to you, what can you do so that you go to the customer? So if the customer is not going to our showroom, how do we bring the showroom to our customer? And hence and here I emphasize a lot on the term cross-functional, because even though I work in the customer experience department, it was not Hussein or his team that came up with this idea. It was a cross-organizational departmental thinking or brainstorming that came out with a proposition called Shop at Home. Shop at Home became a kind of a one-stop shop customer promise differentiator for Nissan in the AMEO region, Africa, Middle East, India, Turkey, and Oceania. What Shop at Home does is it's a suite of solutions and services that we provide to either existing or potential customers. So as I was saying, if you are a potential customer, you're interested in buying a car, but you don't want to go to the showroom, we created something called a 360 showroom and vehicles walkthrough. So while sitting on your couch at home, you can browse our showroom and browse the vehicles from the inside and the outside, just as if you are walking yourself inside the showroom. Let's say you identified the car that you liked, but you still have questions you want to ask. So you can click on a button where you do an instant video call with a sales consultant. Again, while sitting at home, that sales consultant, and here I talk about how it's an organizational mindset change of the way doing business. That salesperson is usually used to selling you a car while standing face to face with you in a showroom. Now he's selling you a car via his smartphone or via this video call that we're doing together. So it's a completely change of a way of doing business. The sales consultant does the video call with the potential customer. He or she answers all the questions of the consumer, and then the consumer is okay. He has all the questions. Now he would like to, because you know very well in the Arab world, we like to touch and feel the product before we buy it. So he or she would like to test drive the car. but they don't want to come to the showroom. So we're providing them with a home test drive where our sales consultants, of course, with a face mask, hand gloves, cars completely sanitized, they will come to our consumers at home. They will do a test drive with them. They will tell them everything about the car. After that stage, if the customer is interested, and we know the hassle of when you want to buy a car, you have to go get a loan, you have to go get the approval on the loan, so on and so forth. Well, this doesn't exist anymore with us. Now you can apply, you can check the finance calculator to calculate your monthly installment, and you can apply for a loan while you're sitting at home. And within 30 minutes, you will get a reply from the banks who approved your pre-loan application or not. So in 30 minutes, you're able now to do all of that. Once you've bought the car, again, and this is where we initiated e-commerce. If you came 5 years or 10 years ago and I told you I'm going to buy a car online, you would laugh at me. Nobody would believe it. As we know, buying a car is the second biggest investment that anybody does in his or her life. But now e-commerce for vehicles has become available and people are actually doing it. So you decided on the car, you got the approval on the loan, you want to buy the car, you have two options. You either book the car online by putting a booking amount, or you decide to buy the whole car online. Once you bought the car, you have the option. You would like to come to the showroom to take it, or you would like it to be delivered to you at home. We provide both services. And after you bought the car, when it's time for you to do the service maintenance of your vehicle, we provide you with a home service maintenance where we will come to you at home, take your car, service it, and bring it back to you. So as you can see, there's a suite of solutions that we developed. And this is where I put them under the bucket of business transformation and not customer experience transformation or digital transformation, because it's a mindset change. You know, in order for you to embark on such a mission, and a very promising and big mission, you have to make sure that all your employees are aligned, all your employees bought into the idea. Number two, you have your partners, which are your dealers. You need to make sure that your dealers are agreeing to that vision and mission. And finally, and most important, is you need to make sure that all your frontliners, and that is your sales consultants, your community management, your call center, all of them are very well aware of what you're doing, because you need to make sure that a customer is always feeling that he's talking to one company versus multiple company, and he wants to make sure that the person at the other end of the line or the computer is actually aware of what the customer is asking for. And here it brings me into something very interesting, which is, Ayusha, technology is the easiest thing any company can implement. Technology is not the hard thing. The hard thing is how can you apply that technology in ensuring that that technology adds value to a customer's life, number one. And number two, and most important, is how do you use the data from that technology that you applied to see what is the ROI of that solution that you've deployed, number one. And number two, to be able to always monitor the customer behavior while using that solution. Because while 360 showroom and vehicles walkthrough might look for me as an amazing solution out there, if I need to put myself in the shoes of the customer. Is the customer seeing it in the same way as the way I'm seeing it? And the only way for me to know that is by looking at the data, analyzing the data, and reporting on the data.
That's so true, Hussein. And I guess the one thing that I'm hearing and understanding from the journey that Nissan has taken is that you really made it into a seamless journey for the customer. At a time when there was a lot of disruption, there was a lot of stress, there was a lot of, overwhelming sentiments riding these customers. And for them to know that, okay, if they want to buy a vehicle, which is a necessity in most times, and maybe in the COVID times, it also ended up being one of those more secure, safe ways of travel rather than exposing themselves. It was about them having the confidence that, yes, when I reach Nissan's portal, I'll be able to go through it. A question that did come to my mind, though, again, coming from where you said that, it's the second big investment that any household makes. It's also a very family-driven, investment that car purchases where you get your kids involved. How did you get that whole excitement coming into your customer experience journey?
Look, the whole idea behind it is, be it whether the wife is the one who's deciding on buying the car, or the husband is the one who's deciding on buying a car. At the end of the day, it's a family decision, and the fact that I'm giving them solutions and services for them to be able to enjoy and for them to be able to utilize while sitting in their couch at home together, this by itself creates a decision making where the whole family is involved versus just one person. So I would be sitting on the couch with my wife and my kids, and we would be looking at the cars, we would be looking at the solutions available there. When I'm doing the video call with the sales consultant, both myself and my wife would be able to engage with the sales consultant and answer questions, so on and so forth. So it is, at the end of the day, it's not geared towards the husband, it's not geared towards the wife, it's geared towards the family. And here I have to emphasize on the word empathy, really, because you mentioned something which is very important. We as a human beings tend to forget the emotions and the feelings we went through during the lockdown and during COVID-19 and all of that. But we went through some really tough times. The lockdown itself, sitting at home locked between four walls, was not an easy thing at all. So it's extremely important for us as an organization to really be empathetic and ensure that there are no disruptions in the journey that we're creating for customers. It's extremely important for us that it's seamless and frictionless and an enjoyable one.
Yes.
Because we know very well that one bad experience, it becomes extremely hard for us to be able to manage to convince the consumer to come back again. All right, fire away.
So Hussein, clearly you had to take up a completely different mindset. Most organizations had to, and as you said, it was a 360-degree change in the way you pursued and came up with these solutions. Clearly, there must have been more technologies that you had to deploy, or perhaps more solutions you had to outsource in order to get this whole journey be as seamless and exciting as you're talking about. It does seem like a beautiful journey you were able to craft. What could have been some of the more in-tune technology deployments that you did? It may not have been major disruptive deployments, but some of the key things that you thought made a huge difference to providing that seamless journey.
One advice, as I mentioned at the beginning, one advice that I can give to any organization out there, any solution that you are looking at rolling out, it's not the money that it depends on, very honestly. Again, it depends on the conviction of the organization on them. So when Shop at Home kicked off, and started, when COVID-19 kicked off and started sweeping, the regions and all of that, we as an organization, we were going at a race with time, because we didn't have time. We really need to find a solution in order to be able to roll it out at the right time to our customers and with the least amount of investment on it. Why do I say least amount of investment? Because we were living in insecurity. We didn't know if that investment, are we going to go and put $1 million on it and we don't know if it's going to last for a week, a month or so, or is it something staying long term? We went as a customer experience department to senior management with a list of solutions for them. And the starting point of our discussion was, what we are about to propose to you is not a solution for COVID-19. What we are coming and proposing to you is a set of solutions that will dictate the way Nissan will do business with its customers in the future. So it's something that's not only relying on COVID-19, it's something that we will start it because of COVID-19 started, or COVID-19 was the ignition behind it, but it's something that's going to stay for a very long time. So whatever you see us here proposing, it's not something that will only have it for COVID-19. It's something that's going to stay for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and so on and so forth. And I can tell you one thing, Usually, when we want to launch any solution, the starting point of it is we need to check what infrastructure we have in place. Are the systems connected together or not? We need to look at which vendor that will actually be able to help us in rolling out that solution. And then after we come up with that solution, we usually pilot it in a small market to be able to see the customer feedback on it, whether it works, it doesn't work. And then later on, we go scale it out across all our markets. This usually takes about 6 to 8 months. Over here, we didn't have that luxury of time. March is when officially COVID-19 hit in the AMEO region. I can tell you in end of April, we had about 8 solutions rolled out. Now, how did we make that? We made that because we worked cross-functionally. See, we created at Nissan something we call the Customer Experience Steering Committee, where we have a person nominated from every function, that is sales, after sales, dealer network development, all of that. And they are part of the Customer Experience Steering Committee. And each one of them is representing their department and ensuring that any solution we want to roll out, we get the buy-in of their department on it. And here I have to thank a lot our ISIT department and our market intelligence department, because those were the real pillars to our support. The ISIT team managed to roll out for us solutions in a much swifter way than waiting for the infrastructure systems to be connected together. So what we did is, usually in India, they call it jugaad. So we rolled out the solutions in a jugaad manner, rather than wait till the ideal solutions are connected in the infrastructure and all of that. We did them. Some of the integrations needed to happen manually versus on an automated basis, but we made it work. And at the same time, we even though we looked at third-party vendors who can support us, but first of all, we started looking within the world of Nissan. Nissan is not a local company or a regional company. Nissan is a global company. So we started looking at all the solutions that we rolled out. Is there any other market worldwide that has launched that similar solution? If they have, great. Can you please share with us the building blocks of it so that we can replicate it and build it at our end? So we had to work in a clever way. We had to work in a smart way. We had to work in a cross-functional way. We had to work in a partnership way. And we had to work while really understanding that we don't have the luxury of time and we don't have the luxury of budgets. I'm telling you why it was interesting and why it's something that's very close to my heart, Ayusha, because usually we're working from the office. During COVID-19, we were working from home. So we were not even meeting face-to-face together. All our meetings were through video calls or through emails or phone calls. Yet we managed to accomplish in a fraction of 3 months what usually takes us 2 years to accomplish. And that's a milestone on its own. That's a huge thing. Our dealer network development team, what they did is they created something called the Nissan Academy. The Nissan Academy is like when you go to Wharton or you go to Harvard or all of those, you have those intranet things where you attend courses. They created something very similar to that so that they are able to train all our frontliners and our employees. That's something phenomenal. It includes videos, it includes images, it includes links, it includes PowerPoint presentations. So again, when the whole organization is believing in what it's doing, there's nothing that stops it. And that's the real key behind it.
Yeah, I mean, listening to you, Hussein, it does seem that because it was, a very closely aligned with the board on a global level, you were able to really think this through on a long-term basis rather than looking at it as a stopgap arrangement. And you just answered one of the questions that I was actually wanting to ask is that, given the reliance that we all have on our front office staff in ensuring that the ethos of customer centricity is being spoken to by the agent, by the salesperson, by the marketing message that's going out with it seems like that collaboration really came true for you during COVID.
Absolutely. You see, we believe in a term called fidget. Phygital, it means when you merge the physical world with the digital world and they become together. And what I mean by that is while you're sitting at home and browsing our platforms and our solutions, I want you to feel, even though you're digitally engaging with us, I want you to feel as if you are physically engaging with us. So it's a seamless transition from the digital world to the physical world and vice versa. And the only way for that to happen is by everybody being aware of what you're doing. And hence why I was telling you the frontliners are extremely important. So imagine that I launch Shop at Home and then I go to Nissan's Facebook page and I write, can you please tell me which of the solutions of Shop at Home lets me request for a test drive at home? And the community manager tells you, I need to check and I will get back to you. The way I would feel is, seriously, you're supposed to know that. This is what you're promising me. So hence why immediate answer back to customers on any query they have or any comment they have, immediate solution to our customers on any requirement they need. Again, it's putting the customer at the heart of everything that we're doing, and it's really not only using the word empathy for the sake of using it, but actually walking the talk.
Good. Yep. No, definitely, Hussein. And again, coming back to this whole future of work, remote working environments, they were put into the spotlight on employee experience. Things like stress management, work-life balance, mental well-being became a priority and are still a priority for companies globally. What are some of the innovations that help you provide the best possible employee experience at Nissan?
Look, COVID-19 was not an easy thing to everyone. Suddenly, you are working from home, something which people are not used to. I mean, we used to take a day off. I'm working from home, but it's not when I'm working from home for a month and 2 months and 3 months and so on and so forth. Usually when you work from home, your working hours are completely lost because you don't stop, you keep working. So that adds a lot of stress, that adds a lot of pressure. Nissan as an organization played a very big role in that, to be very honest with you. So Nissan provided us, just for you to know, with psychiatry requirements if we need. So we had a hotline if we needed to speak to anybody from psychiatry to second thing is we had yoga classes in the morning, so group yoga classes on Zoom, where all of whoever wants can actually. We had tips for healthy food and healthy living, so they created for us a kind of a portal for employees where anything we need, marital advice, for pregnant moms, safety. Our insurance company, Nissan was able to insure from our insurance company to provide us a doctor on demand if anybody needs anything of that sort. I usually need to do a blood test on a monthly basis to check some levels in my health. So they were coming to my house to take my blood test versus me having to go to the hospital. So it really is suite of things. But the most interesting thing I think is in the department in which I work, we used to have something called the morning coffee together. So every morning we used to do our coffee at home, and then we used to jump on a video call together. And it was strictly no work related discussions. So we were just talking about anything and everything, be it what we ate, what we did, what movies are we watching, what sports channels are we watching, are we doing any activity, anything of that sort. So that kind of made it much broke the ice, and and made you feel as if you're not alone going through that thing. Um, from my end, with my team, for instance, I gave full liberty to my team, as in, please, if there is any day you woke up, you felt you're not able to work that day, or you felt you're pressured, please do not work. You're not obliged. We are living in unusual times, and for me, your mental healthness is as important as anything else. So work is a priority, is important, but we need to work all of us together in order to be able to help each other out. So there were many tasks that, for instance, one of my team members should have done them, but he was not able to. So another colleague jumped in and said, "You know what? I will do them. I have some free time." So it was more of a collaborative way of working more than anything else. And it was very much of you felt belonging. You felt you're part of a cult rather than you're just an employee. Those who needed, for instance, tables set up for them at home as desks or needed chairs, those were provided to them. Again, so it was an open communication. And this is what made it really a friendly environment and a very good environment. IT support was extremely important. As you know, moving at home, you needed to ensure that many organizations, by the way, were not ready from an IT perspective to move their setups to working from home. And that created huge issues for them. So we had a 24/7 IT support from our end in case we had any issues.
Sounds
So
amazing.
all
And
of this
clearly,
creates that really, all of this creates that employee experience at the end of the day. By the way, just for you to know, till this date, every single table in the office, it has a sanitizer over there, a face mask over there, and we get an update on a daily basis from our HR team about how many cases of COVID there are in the office, what measures are being taken, and so on and so forth.
I mean, at the end of the day, Hussein, it was a time when we all had to come together and really make sure that we're there for each other. And it seems like in Nissan, you all really were able to deliver that very well. We have seen a lot of companies struggling to adopt the new normal, yet, there have been great success stories, and the credit has been passed to the leadership and the culture within the organizations. And, from what you're just telling me, I think the credit is due to the CX leadership and the culture that could have been cultivated within Nissan, clearly driving it from the front and making sure that employees are, not only doing it because they are part of an organization, because it's a job, but because it's a community and it's a family, an extended family that you've been able to nurture out there. Hussein,
the important factor in it, I would say, is to be very honest with you, is that through the customer experience team are the ones who drew those initiatives with the support of the cross-functional departments. But the more important thing I would emphasize on is that senior management believed in what the customer experience teams are proposing. And they believed in it, and they drove it, and they made it an imperative thing in the organization. So when your senior leadership team is, I mean, if you walk inside Nissan and you ask anybody about Shop at Home, everybody knows about it, from our senior leadership all the way to our sales consultants in the showrooms, and that makes it really a great thing.
It does, and I guess it all boils down to the alignment that you need to have with the CX team and the leadership team. And clearly, every time when we hear these amazing successes, it all comes down to how close that alignment was, how it was not just a vision of the CX team, but also how they were able to align with the leadership team in the organization to drive it across every single department in order for it to be a success. Absolutely. How do you see the next 12 months shaping up to be in the CX landscape of
so the way, to be very honest with you, after we finished 2020, we had a meeting, the CX teams in the regions, and we said, you know what, 2020 was a marathon, and really I have to thank every single customer experience specialist in the organization because they worked so hard in 2020. So I told them, the mission for 2021 is as follows. We're not going after launching new solutions. What we want to do is actually stabilize all the solutions that we launched in 2020, re-look at them, which ones of them are actually adding a lot of value to customers, which ones we thought they're going to add value, but they were not adding that much value. So really, it's just taking a macro view and re-looking at what have we done in 2020? What do we need to build on in 2021? What do we need to drop from what we launched in 2020? But I can certainly tell you that e-commerce is definitely the spotlight in 2021. So far, we have e-commerce in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Saudi, and in India. But we're looking at growing this more because we're seeing the positive results of the e-commerce of what we've done. And the third pillar, so the first one is reevaluate what we've done and look at what we want to grow. Number two is e-commerce. And number three, and more important, is data. And what we mean by data is we need to ensure that each one of those solutions that we launched, we're able to have visibility, we're able to capture, and we're able to analyze and report on the data from them. And second of all is what kind of data is still missing that we need to inject into the loophole. But again, I will tell you on a quarterly basis, what we do is a review of where Nissan stands versus the other automotive brands. And Shop at Home managed to create a huge gap from the services and offering that we are doing versus all other OEMs in the AMEO region. I can tell you we created a huge gap between us and them, which makes me very happy.
Congratulations, Hussein. It seems like it's been a very rewarding year for you, a very difficult year for all of us. But, in the end, to be able to look at a very trying circumstance and be able to emerge from it, knowing that you've done everything, not just for the internal customers, but also for the external customers, and be able to take pride in what the team was able to accomplish is an amazing achievement. I wish.
It has, to be very honest with you, it has, because many times we would be on a call together with the CX teams, and when we look back at what we've done, we still cannot believe it. Really, we still cannot believe it because it has been a lot. What we did is a lot. I mean, when we put them on PowerPoint presentations and we're going to a meeting with senior management, we get shocked by how much we did, and this for us made us very happy.
I can totally relate to it. And it's amazing. That's the beauty of it. That when you look back and you feel the pride, the whole team feels the pride. It's just such an amazing feeling to go back to. So congratulations on it, Hussein, and we look forward to hearing about it more. At the end of 2021 as to how, and I guess the stabilization process seems to be such an amazing, perspective as well to just evaluate and to just look back and see whether everything's working or not. So we look forward to seeing what else gets accomplished over there, and perhaps looking at what 2022 brings for you. So wishing you and the team at Nissan all our very best, and talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ayusha.
Bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye.